Hi, this is Olaf, and this is the first episode of my journey to Kona and St. George World Championships 2022. So I'm German, I grew up in France, and I live in beautiful Martinique. I finished 19 Ironman so far. I went to Kona 6 times, finished 4th once, 8th once, and 4th times between 40th and 45th. My last Ironman was Ironman Texas in October 2021, where I finished in 9 hours 05 and second in my age group with a 104 hour swim, 4:45 bike, and 3 hours 10 run. And my objective is to finish in the top 10 or finish in a podium at one of the next World Championships this year. So the reason why I want to do this mini series or this documentary or this Road to Kona series is number one, to document a little bit my journey for myself. I would like to share my passion of the sport, give everyone some insights in terms of what to do in terms of equipment, training, what are the doubts, the nutrition, etc. And hopefully also receive some feedback from you in terms of what I can do differently or what I could do better. So I just finished a relatively easy recovery week, so that went pretty well. The beginning of the year has been quite tough. I mean, we are now only 2 weeks away from my first race, which is Ironman 70.3 Puerto Rico, and we are 9 weeks away from the first Ironman World Championships this year, which is St. George. So we're getting closer. The beginning of the year was quite tough. I had end of last year, just after Christmas, I had COVID, which set me back, where I couldn't do that much in terms of training. And then very early in January, during a trip to Europe, I had a little bit of heart arrhythmia, so I had some heart fibrillation and for 30 hours, and I couldn't, obviously I couldn't train. Since then I've done an IRM, I've done a scanner, I've done an echo, and everything seems fine with the heart. I didn't have any episode again, so I'm watching that obviously, but everything seems back to normal. And since then also I've been able to do a really good 3-week training block with a lot of volume. We went up to 27 hours, and so more in detail, we went up to 20,000 meters, 20k swimming, up to 480k on the bike, and up to 65k on the run. So everything was still reasonably controlled. On the bike we went up to 4 hours in terms of volume, so nothing absolutely crazy yet. On the run we had one hill repeat session with 10 times 3 minutes, sort of at 4% gradient. We had one track session with 8 times 800, where I started sort of 4 minutes per kilometer and went down to 3:35 per kilometer in the last week. So 8 times 800, 8 times 400, where I went down to sort of 320 per kilometer, and 8 times 100. So that was a quite key session that we repeated over these 3 weeks. So that went all really pretty well. No major pains, which I guess is also a top priority. I have a little bit of sore left knee at times, but which is manageable. My left heel is a little bit sensitive on the long runs, but that's been going on for many months, and it's also not really too bothering. And a little bit in the middle of the back, maybe because of the breathing on one side on the swimming, I can feel at times. But I go to see the physio once a week. I do at least twice a week core and gym strengthening in order to prevent any injuries, and so far that's been going really well. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm just about to start another big week, or the biggest week yet, and so I'll tell you next week how that is going. So point number 2 I wanted to mention is the top priorities. I mean, I've been to Kona, for example, several times. I had some really great experiences there and some really crappy experiences there. So I think the top priority for me in this preparation is to be able to arrive at the race without any injuries. I mean, that's really the biggest factor for me, or has been in the past, whether I was having a good race or not such a good race. So I read some race reports back from some of the poor races which I had, and obviously when you can only start running 3 weeks before the race again, it's going to be difficult to perform well. So priority number 1 is not to get injured. Easier said than done, but I'm definitely trying to be careful not to push myself too hard on the key sessions, and to watch out for the niggles, which is not easy, because as you know, once they start you don't know if they're going to go away, if it's going to stay under control or not. But at least really focusing on that very strongly. The other thing is definitely be careful in terms of falling off the bike. I mean, that happened to me already several times. 2018 happened 5 weeks before the race in Kona, and I had a shoulder injury, and even by the time I got there, it still wasn't gone. So in the end I couldn't start. I already fell off the bike, and for 2 months couldn't really run because I had a groin injury that happened last year, just before leaving Germany. So being extra careful on the bike, especially when things are going really well with the training, when I start to be really confident, when I can go really fast, I sometimes do take also more risks, whether it's in traffic, etc. So because I don't want to let my average speed drop too much. I don't want to brake when I come into a corner, etc. So being aware of that, and trying to work against that and not take too many risks is definitely what I try and what I focus on as much as possible now. And maybe the last thing where I also feel I'm doing a lot better than before is doing the easy stuff easy. I still struggle a lot to run sort of 5 minutes per kilometer on my easy runs, but I'm definitely much better as not pushing and not killing myself at every training session, and especially now where I'm really training a lot. Obviously when you train 4 hours a day on average, it's important to recover from the hard ones, and so far I've been able to do that pretty well. But those are really the 3 things I'm focusing on, and I wrote them down. I'm trying to look at them every day, is not to get injured, not to fall off the bike, and do the easy stuff as easy as I should, and not harder than that. Now finally, the last point I wanted to touch today on is objectives and beliefs. I'm definitely a very competitive guy. I do want to win, I do want to do well. When I train, I always think about, okay, what are others doing in the world, and I should get out there and do more than any of the guys who also train for the Kona World Championships. So I'm I'm definitely competitive, but on the other hand, and I mentioned at the beginning, my objective at this stage is to be a podium finisher or top 5 finisher at one of the World Championships, and sometimes I do wonder, is that enough? I mean, should my objective be to be world champions, and should I sort of state that more firmly? I'm still not sure about it. At the moment, what is sure is that I don't believe it 100% that I can be world champion. There are obviously people out there who are more talented than I am. I believe that firmly. Are there people out there who are putting in as much effort as I do? Maybe. But so I'm still not sure. On one hand, if you set too high goals, then there's a high chance that you are disappointed. And I had several races in Kona where I had very big goals, very big dreams, and then when I crossed the finish line, I just want to cry and just gutted, disappointed. And this is one of the greatest races in the world. You should be happy when you finish it, and not disappointed. So on one hand, I tell myself, I don't want to have an experience where if things don't go to plan, I'm not totally crushed at the end. But on the other hand, I wonder, am I giving really myself the chance to win it if I don't set that as a clear objective? So I'm still struggling a little bit with that. Happy to hear anyone's thoughts. But some of my friends, as soon as I mentioned I'm going to the World Championship, I said, Olaf, podium, etc. So first of all, I've only done the podium once, and then I also don't want that to be sort of the expectation of everyone, that if things go normal, I will finish on the podium. So I'm a little bit careful with that as well. I obviously want to do the best I can do. I want to have a good race. I want to be able to cope with the heat well. I hope with the nutrition strategy I'm able to do that much better. Still, I do want to have a podium that is clear. I do want to be in the top 10. That is very clear. Beyond that, I'm still struggling a bit. But maybe the next races will give me the confidence to set goals that are even higher. All right, so that's what I had for you guys today. Keep pushing, keep training hard, and hope for some of you to hit the subscribe button or to follow my journey going forward. But thanks for watching. Take care.